Hey mini enthusiasts, how are you doing? Welcome back. It's part 6 of Project Sprout, and this
Hey mini enthusiasts, how are you doing? Sorry about that, no intro. There is a reason for that, and that's because I didn't film one. So I thought I'd use something from earlier footage. And obviously I'm trying to get these videos out as quick as I can at the moment, and I'm sitting here in my pyjamas, and when I realised I hadn't filmed an intro, it's probably not good for me to go out and film one now. You wouldn't want to see that, honestly. So I thought I'd narrate a bit of Sprout this week. So as you can see, I'm just seam sealing the bulkhead there, and I'm using Tiger Seal and a short paintbrush, trying to get the same finish as they had at the factory. It must have been someone's job to walk around with Tiger Seal or something equivalent and a special tool paintbrush to go and put the brush marks in it. So a little tip, if you're using Tiger Seal and you want to smooth it over, what I found works really well is the super universal brake cleaner on the end of your finger. Just wet it and then wipe it over, and it works quite well for smoothing the Tiger Seal out. And if you want a smooth finish, it works really well. So at this point we are just fitting the scuttle panel, trying to get it all aligned.
cunning like a fox. That drill bit method works pretty well actually. I haven't even had to put the bolts in, so it's like quick release. And now I've got the scuttle panel sort of lined up. Remember, I've got my measurements from before, so I know they're only a guide, but I'll get as close as we can to what it was before, so cool.
So what I actually done there was take the measurement, the panel gaps, bonnet relative to the scuttle panel, and I marked them on the old panel, and of course I kept the old panel. So I'm just using a vernier caliper there just to make sure the measurements are around about the same. Then I'm just going through, cutting on the A pillar, ready to accept the new scuttle panel. And I started out with a hacksaw and finishing off just with a hacksaw blade in hand, just to do the final little bit. I was down at Mark's actually doing the very same thing on kit today, and it's so much easier to do if you've got a Dremel with a cutting disc on it, because the discs are quite small and they can get right down into the area you can't normally reach with like a grinder. Just trying to think what videos we've got coming up. So this will go out tomorrow, which will be Monday. Oh my word. Yeah, I've got at least 3 or 4 more videos ready to go. I'm going to show you a trick here. I was carefully peeling off the heritage sticker on the back of the scuttle panel there, They put a heritage sticker on all the panels. I find them a right pain to get off. If you peel them really carefully, you can get them off. Otherwise you end up leaving the glue and half the sticker behind. But I went down and saw Mark today and he showed me a new way of doing it, and I'll have to video it, but it was very effective. And that was just to get up, lift a corner, which is quite easy to do, and then just spray brake cleaner onto the sticker, and the brake cleaner softens up the glue. Oh, and it's so easy to come off. I cannot believe I've struggled all my life. And Mark showed me how to do it the easy way, so thank you very much, Mark. You've saved me hours over my lifetime now. I will just do a video showing you guys how to do that. It's so much easier though. It does feel so good putting new panels back on the car now. Really does.
I know it's only very rough, but it's really just a sense check just to make sure everything looks about right before I go welding that scuttle panel into place. It lines up with the bonnet. I've got the bonnet on those 3mm drill bits like I said I was going to do. That's actually makes it so much easier. I haven't even put the nuts on, just put the drill bits in, holds the bonnet in place perfectly, and it's exactly where it was before. So I've got the same gaps around the bonnet. And just looking, taking the minuses, only held on with mole grips at the moment. My gaps are pretty good around this wing. When I shut the bonnet, the line looks right. A panel looks right relative to the door. The door's still adjustable yet. I think the door needs to come out a little bit, but it looks right. And around the other side, it's a bit of a job this side. It was quite difficult to get in. I've got a bigger gap there at the moment. I'm not too worried about that because it's the same gap all the way around, so it just means the wing wants to move a millimetre or two that way. That's fine. I'll just unclamp it. I'm struggling because the car's moving at the moment. This side of the scuttle though, you might have seen me fiddling around with it, trying to get it to line up because it didn't want to line up here. Now it was like it was slightly bent. Now, if you saw me cleaning it up, yeah, I manhandled it a bit and maybe I just bent it, but I've pulled it back in now. Everything lines up. Little bit of a bigger gap than I wanted there, so I'm going to have to fill that with weld. But, yeah, I'm all right. Not too worried about that. So, yeah, let's crack on. Let's get that. I think that scuttle panel can be welded in place now. Or I've got the closing panel to go on this side, but I think I can weld the scuttle panel in first.
And there we go, trying to remove another heritage sticker. And just checking the windscreen aperture height there. On Sprout it's 41 centimetres. Do not take that as gospel, because all minis are different. I know they should all be the same, but they are all different. So it'd be around about 41 centimetres. But yeah, I would thoroughly recommend checking your own. Circuit breaker trip there. Quite a common theme this is. So I'm not going to waffle on too much. I had my house electrics upgraded to take the spot welder. House and garage. So the garage is fine. The house, I was still waiting at this point for a replacement breaker. So what that meant was it tripped every now and again. It started to do me head in. In the end though, as you can see there, resetted very quickly. That's because I told my wife to sit in there looking at the consumer board and just flick the switch whenever it went off. it done the job. It allowed me to get the job done, but it was a bit frustrating. But good news is it's all sorted now. So my strategy for getting everything lined up on the front again was to use the bonnet. So before I cut off the front end, I made sure the bonnet was aligned. I drilled the bonnet hinges using 3mm drill bits, so that when it went back on, I could use those drill bits to align the bonnet, and then the idea was to then fit the scuttle and then line everything up forward of the scuttle panel. It seems to have worked. So I don't think you know for definite really till it's all back in and you've got the wheel arches on and things like that and the wheels back in, but it, as of this evening, and I've had the subframe back in the car, it does all seem to be okay, which is good. I keep getting asked about Mig Welder settings. It's quite a common question. So my Mig Welder is a Clark 135 TE, relatively cheap, does pretty much everything you'd want to do on a classic Mini. It's got enough power and I use it on setting number 1 maximum and a wire speed of between 6 and 7, and that's on 0.6mm wire. And that seems perfectly adequate for panel welding. And I use Argo mix, which is argon and CO2 mix. I can't tell you what ratio, but it seems to work pretty well.